When you need a good book and everybody does, tune in to the Book Buzz.
When you need a good book and everybody does, tune in to the Book Buzz.
When you need a good book and everybody does, tune in to the Book Buzz. Buzz on in, y'all. How's it going? We're so glad you're here. Welcome to Book Buzz. I'm Kristen Fournier. I'm the librarian at Forest North Elementary in Round Rock ISD.
Welcome. I'm Jamie Wright. I'm the librarian at Jolie Johnson Elementary, and we're so excited to share books today that are available in both the Forest North and Jolie Johnson libraries.
Yeah, so if you go to either of our schools, we got you on lock. If you go to another school in Round Rock ISD, we purposely pick books that we think are in a lot of libraries. So you can check them out anywhere. Don't forget your public library too, right? School's coming out soon. You can get these at the public library as well. All right, Miss Wright, should we get it popping?
Let's get started. I have a book up today first that's called Deep in the Sahara, and it was by Kelly Kernan and Hoda Haddadi. And what I like about this book is it's written by an author who traveled to West Africa, and she has an author's note. I always love some good back matter. So she talks about traveling to Mauritania and what she thought as a person from the United States traveling to West Africa at first, and then sort of what her experiences were visiting there. And the story talks about a girl and what the malafa, this article of clothing, what it means to her. So as she meets and encounters different women in the village, she talks about, okay, I want to wear it because it's beautiful, and I want to wear it because it's tradition, and I want to wear it because, and everybody she meets has a different representation and a different, it sort of inspires her in a different way. And then they tell her, no, it's not about that. It's not about that. It's not about that, because, you know, it means different things. And so it's got some beautiful illustrations, and it's just another of those slice of life books. It shows her going around and encountering different people where she lives, which is just lovely.
That's beautiful. I love the illustrations too. I haven't read that one yet. I'm excited to take a look at that one.
One thing that I really like for teachers and families in working with this book too is to give this a little bit of context. You know, I grew up in Iowa, and so I would read books all the time where people had really crowded cities and really tall apartment buildings, and taxis were just lining the streets. And, you know, in Iowa City, we had tall buildings and we had taxis, but they weren't lining the streets. And sometimes when I would read picture books, I assumed that, you know, every city looked like that. And I think that as we read books that give us a slice of life, it's really important that we impart to children that, of course, not every single person dresses this way or engages in these activities or thinks in a certain way. But I love having different types of books that give us a window into a life that might be different. The back is really cool too. And especially because the author herself was intending to give that book from a United States perspective. And of course, United States means so many different things, as does West Africa, as does, you know, any place.
Right. Yeah. I think we're on the cusp too of really having a lot of opportunities for where things don't have to be like monolithically representative. Like there's just more publishing opportunities out there now, so that we can see slices of life from lots of different aspects of a place as big as Africa, and start to realize like, oh, we've got representation from so many cultures. We have so many things, and there's not just one thing that it means to be African or to be Asian or to be American, that there's just so much, what's that word? I love that word, diaspora. There's so much diaspora in the world.
Yeah, you said that so well. I often think of this when we talk about First Nations people too.
Yes.
That instruction might be monolithic. I love how you put that. But the idea that you know, people have different collective stories and different individual stories, and sometimes when we think of you know, the single story, as Linda Sue Park put it so brilliantly in her talk a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so really, really good things to reflect about as we're sharing books with kids.
I love that. And just the wider range we can do, the better, right? That's our mission, right, Miss Wright?
It always is. It always is. What do you have up?
Well, it's May, so it is currently Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So I thought I would represent a book that's a nonfiction book that takes place in Japan. And as you can tell, I'm filming on location. I'm out in the field this episode. And I forgot my books, y'all. Even grown-ups, we make mistakes sometimes. But I found it. I could show it to you. So this is a book called Magic Ramen. No, yeah, no, it's called Magic Ramen. And the first thing I want to show you is this picture, just so y'all have a little context. Have you ever eaten ramen, instant ramen? So there's like fancy ramen that like takes hours to make and is super delicious, but there's also instant ramen. Growing up as a kid, I had instant ramen. I had never had like fancy ramen. Have you had this before? Miss Wright, what's your take on ramen and instant ramen?
Yeah, I never had the fancy ramen. I'm That's aspirational for me now.
Right? Yeah, pretty cool. Okay. Well, the book that I wanted to share with you is called Magic Ramen. And it's the story of Momofuku Ando. And in Japan, you usually just everyone calls you by your last name. So I'm just gonna call him Ando because that's what they call him in the book. But it's written by Andrea Wong. It's illustrated by Kana Urbanowitz. And this is the story of the guy who invents instant ramen. So it starts a year after World War II. So you might know, you might not know. In World War II, Japan was on the other side from the United States. So we were not on the same side. And our side won, their side lost. And they had a lot of terrible things that happened in the course of that war to the Japanese people. So he's coming home from work. You can see right here, it says, even though World War II had ended a year ago, much of Osaka, Japan still lay in ruins. And he has this experience where he sees people that are starving, waiting in line to get food. And they're so hungry. It says the poor ate grass and bark to survive. Orphans scrounged through garbage for something to eat. Those lucky enough to have some money waited for hours and paid outrageous prices for a meager bowl of ramen. So this really sticks with him. And he remembers this throughout his life. And he has this pivotal moment where he decides he's going to dedicate his life to like ending hunger and helping people get access to food that's nutritious, but also inexpensive so that they don't have to eat grass and bark. Like it's just heartbreaking, right? So he starts a bunch of businesses. He's a mover and a shaker. He starts a salt business and he opens restaurants and every time he can, he's trying to make money to share with the people in his community that are poor. And he's also trying to create jobs for people as well. So they can, stand on their own 2 feet and start supporting themselves again. And, he has a couple of setbacks, but he keeps trying. And throughout this whole thing, he's trying to work on this recipe to make instant ramen. So he can't quite figure out how to do it so that it'll like dry and be able to get packaged like the way we know it. And then also taste like soup again. So it kind of is interesting where it goes through that problem solving process where he eventually figures it out. And it's what we know today as instant ramen. So thanks to Ando for helping. And I, just culturally, it really helped like end a lot of food poverty in Japan when he invented it, like in the 50s.
I love this book. I'm so glad that we also have it in our library. And I also think for some of our IBPYP schools, when we talk about taking action,
Yes.
it's a perfect fit, the story. I mean, we have a lot of inventor stories, but I think this one really speaks to a great example of an invention that's very wide reaching. And is a great example of seeing a problem and specifically dedicating yourself to work to solve it.
Yes,
It's
and it has such heart behind it. Like the problem is so meaningful. He's trying to help other people have a better life. Like that's just beautiful. That's so much better than like I don't know, like some problems that it's like, how could I do this? No, this is so meaningful. And I love that it's something so iconic. Like we all have seen that at HEB. We know what that is. I never thought about that, and I never would have expected that it had such heart behind its invention.
That makes a perfect segue into my next book.
Oh,
Speaking of heart,
excellent. Yes.
I bring Brontorina.
I love this
This
one.
book was written by James Howe. It has been around a while, and I discovered it on our library shelves recently. And I was sort of like, oh, okay, great. It's a dinosaur book, and the dinosaur is dancing, cute, 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 whatever. Like, sorry. We have a lot of books about, dinosaurs doing cute stuff. I was
Or
like, oh,
cute
this is
animals in
another one.
general. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And I started reading it. And so I'm never supposed to do this at a book talk, but I'm kind of going to spoil just a little bit because I need you to know why this book is so special to me. As I was reading it, so this is Brontorina, and then you can see here are all the human dancers. So she really, really wants to be a ballerina, and she tries to go to class, and there are those mean girls in the back corner who are all like, oh no, you do not fit the mold. You do not look like what a dancer should look like. Like, so already we have this exclusion, right? So this looks every bit like a book for kindergartners, but show me a fourth grader who hasn't felt exclusion, right? Like show me an adult who hasn't felt that. So instantly relatable. And the thing that is super special for me, the spoiler thing is, once they discover, like, you know what, Brontorina, maybe it isn't your differences. Maybe it is our system. Maybe it is our dance studio that isn't working for you. How can we adjust that in trying to make you squish into our system? How can we adapt our system so that it includes you? And that is so powerful and so amazing. And it's so translatable to so many different things about our schools and about the way we play and include people. And so I think this is such a treasure, and I'm so glad I found it.
Me too. Yeah, I saw you put it on the list to record this episode, and I was looking for something else, and I saw it on the shelf, and I read it, and I was like, Miss Wright, this is a jewel. I didn't know either, so I'm so excited that you found that for us. It's been circulating this week at Forest North like mad as well. And it's just such a great example of picture books that they can just work on so many levels. That don't count it out if you're a fourth grader or an adult that picture books aren't for you, because they are, and you really understand it in so many more ways than a kindergartner would. It's the beauty of picture books.
Books are the best. They just really are.
I agree. I loved that one. I'm so glad you found it. Thanks for that. That was a gift. All right. So I have another one for us too. Again, I'm on location, so I don't have my book, so I'm going to share it. I Googled this book cover, and I just didn't want to pick one. I think they all look cool. So I want to talk to you about Ghetto Cowboy, which is by Greg Neary. And this was a Bluebonnet book, so I know every Round Rock ISD school has it. And I was lucky enough to be on the Texas Bluebonnet Awards selection committee when this book got picked. So I was like, come on, I love it, I love it, I love it. I'm a big fan of this one. So it's about a guy named Coltrane. He goes by Cole for short. He's 12. He lives in Detroit. And he has not been doing what he needs to be doing. He's getting in trouble at school. He's getting in trouble in his neighborhood. His mother is seriously worried about him. And he has a meeting with the principal, and they're like, he can't come back to school here anymore. So his mom is like at a complete loss. She has no clue what to do. So she decides, I think what you needed is a fresh start. So I'm going to send you to live with your dad. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. Your dad's a wonderful person. Maybe he can help you in ways that I can't. And what bravery to do that. It blows my mind. Like, good for her. So they get in the car, they drive to Philadelphia. So Cole is terrified. Like, he doesn't have a relationship with his dad. His mom is telling them he's all right, but he's like, where has he been then? I don't know him. So he gets there. His dad is named Harper, and he lives in Philadelphia. And he's involved in this situation that Cole thinks is like very bizarre at first, because they live kind of like you were talking before when we think about big cities with skyscrapers. That he lives in a part of Philadelphia that is definitely a big New York City kind of city. But they and his friends, dad and his friends, Harper and his friends, find horses that have been mistreated or starved, or people aren't able to take care of them anymore, and they take them in, and they have like a horse rescue in the middle of downtown Philadelphia. And it actually ends up being a really good thing for their neighborhood, because a lot of the kids, instead of, just reacting from the bad things that are happening because of a system that's against them, or, just making bad choices, not having a lot of resources, these kids instead build a community with these older people about taking care of these horses and running this horse rescue. And so a lot of these people connect over it, and just make like this huge community. And the best part about this is the author, Greg Neary, based this on a real horse rescue in real life Philadelphia. Like, this is a real thing. Blew my mind. At the end of the book, there's a little information about it. And you can see right here, this third picture, which is why I wanted to show it to you. There's an article in Life magazine that Greg Neary read and was like, what? I got to make this a thing. So it's called Street Riders is the article, and you can find it online. It's on Greg Neary's website. And it's so cool and so unexpected that you would be riding down a city street, and then a bunch of like kids and like people that look like they live in a big city are all cowboys. It's a bunch of cowboys. There's girls involved too. There's cowgirls too. And I just think it's a great like example of community and people coming together. And other big news, this just recently got turned into a movie, and it's on Netflix. It's called Concrete Cowboy. So one of my favorite things in the world to do is to read a book and then watch the movie. So you can read the book and then watch the movie together. And I think this would be a perfect book for families with, fourth and fifth graders to read together and talk about and process, and just what it means to be part of a community, what it means to make good choices and belong, and heal from things that have happened together. And I can't say enough good things about it. The author's so nice too. Like he has a great online presence and is very responsive. Love him.
I can't remember this makes me crazy when I can't remember, but I read lots of books about reading and writing instruction.
Yeah.
And it's like one of three different authors, but one of them has recommended this specific book and the specific author. And I've had it on my to be read list for a while. So I'm really glad that you brought this up, because it's just like, oh yeah, I really need to visit this and enjoy the story, because I would love it. It sounds amazing.
It's so cool. And just you never think about we talked about this in an earlier episode where what's the book called? What Black Cowboys of the Wild West, I think it's called. But we have this 50s TV perception that the Wild West were all white men, you know, and the good guys wore white hats and the bad guys wore a black cowboy hat, and they had a shootout at noon, right? It outside the saloon. And that's not it. Like cowboys were as diverse as, and cowgirls were as diverse as, you know, America at large. And I just love that there's this book about something that's so unexpected. We don't think about black cowboys in downtown Philadelphia, but it's not only is it real, and also it makes sense. It does, because we have a rich history in America of black cowboys as well.
What a good book to look forward to. I can't wait to read that.
We have a bunch of his other ones. I was just talking about it with a fifth grade teacher this week. The district, we're so lucky that our director of library services buys books on Macambia for the district to share. And there are a lot of Greg Neary's books that are on there. So even if you haven't read Ghetto Cowboy, read something else by him, and you can do that all summer long, even if his school's not in. Just use your S number, no S, right, for your username and your password. Log in on Macambia and check out one of his books. You won't be disappointed. They're awesome.
And if you've got anybody who looking at middle school or high school readers, his books also, I think, are appropriate for that level as well. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, he has some that maybe I wouldn't read in elementary, but he definitely has some that I would.
Fabulous. Speaking of, I have a guilty pleasure book to share with you for my last one up today. This is called The False Prince. It's written, it's part of the Ascendance trilogy, although I think there might be another book coming out, so it might not be a trilogy anymore. It's written by Jennifer Nielsen, and she's written some really good page turners. She wrote A Night Divided and Words on Fire, upcoming Bluebonnet book.
Oh yeah.
And I really like. Well, anyway, I'll just go off on all the other Jennifer Nielsen books I like. But I want to tell you about this one because it is such a page turner and I can't get down. And the reason that I really like it is because the protagonist is super snarky. I love a snarky protagonist. So the premise is that he doesn't have any money. He's in an orphanage, and a stranger comes to town and says, look, you're the right age, you're the right build, you're the right look. We need you to come and pretend to be the prince of such and such, because there's a situation and we're not giving you any more information, but we really need you to come and act like you're the prince. It'll be great. You'll have all the food you want. You'll have some nice clothes. You'll have a life of comfort. And of course, he's like not a play by the rules kind of guy. So he's like, why would I go and help you? I'm fine, whatever. And he's not fine. His living situation is terrible, but you know, he's not going to be told what to do. And the guy's like, well, if you can't cooperate, then you're going to die. So instantly the stakes are just like, all right, well, so he's going to be the prince or act like it. And he is taken and like handcuffed and shackled and whatever. And it's like, okay, so outwardly you're acting like you're all fine and special and royal, and yet you're actually a prisoner. So, and along the way, of course, he's got all these put downs of his captors because he doesn't have the power to escape or gain control. So that's the power that he uses. I like a good verbal taunt. I'm not sure what that says about me.
It just means you're Shakespearean.
And after I finished this book, I desperately wanted to read the second one and I didn't have it. So I'm just going to tell you that if you have the first book, you might want to have the second book on hand. And the same thing happened for me for the third one. So yeah, The False Prince, the Ascendance trilogy is my recommend here today.
Oh, I'm sold, Miss Wright. Okay, so who would you recommend this to? Like what age readers?
Yeah, I think there are fourth graders who could read this. I think it sits really well for fifth and sixth grade, and certainly seventh and eighth. It's more of a middle school book. It's a longer book. Let's see. We're looking at around just about 300 pages. So it's not super out of reach. It does have some complex vocabulary, and situations. But there's action adventure. I found it really funny all the way through, which is what I like
It
about
sounds
it.
hilarious. Yeah, I love it.
It's got plot twists and turns, things that you don't necessarily keep coming, and it's not like really historical fiction, but I like some invented past historical fiction kind of fantasy.
Yeah.
So I love all the genres that it works in. And so, I mean, it's not going to elevate your consciousness about important issues, but it's super fun read. And, it's summer or about to be summer, and you need a fun read once in a while. So
yeah, no, it
that's my
sounds
pick.
great. I really want to read it. I love it. That sounds so good. Snarky reminds me of when you did On Account of the Gum by Adam Ritz recently. And that's a hit. So I'm in for it. I love it. I can't wait to read that. Thank you. Okay, well, I have another one. It's a little more serious. And I realize I'm not a horse person. Are you a horse person? That's right. Some people are horse people.
I mean, I've ridden horses, but I wouldn't say that that's my, like
Your
you wouldn't
very
define
favorite
me that
animal.
way. Yeah.
Okay. Me neither. I'm not much of a horse person. So I don't read a lot of books with horses, but just by coincidence today, very important horse elements in both of these books. So I have another chapter book that I want to show you. And this book is called Some Kind of Kindness. It was written by Dan Gemeinhart. Came out in 2016. Here it is.
Can we talk about Dan Gemeinhart and Good Dog and the connections with the animals?
Yeah,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
he does animal books really well. So
He really does. He really does. I totally agree. So I just want you to see the cover because I'm so visual and I have to do that too. So this book's just crazy. It's almost like, okay, remember we were talking a minute ago about Ghetto Cowboy and how we have this picture of what the Wild West was like in America. This a little bit is more connected to, like, I wasn't as surprised about what it was like back then. So this kid Joseph, he's right here. He's had a rough couple years. He's only 12 years old, just like Coltrane. Isn't that weird? There's all these connections. His dad dies in an accident, and then his mom and sister get really sick and they pass away. So he's the only person left alive in his family. He's only 12 years old. And he's trying to get by as best he can. But then this bad guy steals his horse, Sarah. And he is like, that's it. Like, I don't have my dad anymore. I've lost my mom and my sister. You will not take Sarah away from me. So this bad guy is like, oh, okay, little kid. Cool, bye. I'm taking your horse. See ya. Good luck. See you never. And Joseph is like, there is nothing on earth that will stop me from getting my horse back. So he ends up, they like go on this epic adventure where he's chasing him like across multiple states and traveling a long distance. And he runs into wild animals that like you're caught so off guard by, and you like kind of just really feel like you're going on this adventure. He runs into tons of different kind of people, other dangerous individuals that you're like, oh, more bad guys. Like, it feels like a movie when you read it. It's very cinematic. I would love to watch the movie version of this. And there's also like, it's also got one of his enemies also is nature, just surviving out there outside, like camping all the time, traveling, getting things to eat, just things that you don't think about, especially at 12, like having to take care of yourself. It's unbelievable. So this kid has the most grit, the most gumption of any 12-year-old that I've ever read. And I don't want to ruin the ending for you, but nothing is going to stop him from getting that horse back.
I love the people who really like a good underdog story, and
Oh,
if you
yeah.
really like Hatchet, I think this is a book
That's a great
because
read alike.
the survival comparison, and it's just like, come on, how can anything get worse and harder? And then it does, and you're just like, no, come on, you got to do this. And
but it's not sad in a way,
character.
like the way Dan Gemeinhart reads it, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you care and root even more, even though you're so frustrated that he's come so far and had to endure so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Yes, I totally agree with that. I love it. And Dan Gemeinhart, like you were saying, you can't go wrong with him. He's written a lot of books and they're incredible.
Yeah. You might cry, but you'll enjoy the cry.
Yes, totally. And it won't be like, it'll just be like a single beautiful story, full of meaning and symbolism.
That's the best tier,
right? A little reading tier. Miss Wright, I noticed when we started this episode at the beginning, we had a new intro.
Oh my gosh. Can I just tell you how excited I am?
It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Tell me.
I just need to shout out to Waylon again, who did a little bit of illustration for us in a previous episode. You might be able to see. He took it to the next level and animated. I mean, if you are not appreciating the xylophone animation, like I don't even know how to help you because I love it. I just love it. I love it so much. It's
so great. Like get him a job. I feel like that's happened so much this year with the pandemic. Like all of these kids are ready. They're professionals. They're ready to go take on the world. And I would watch a show. Like he should animate a show and I'll watch it. I love it. It's so great. How did he do that? I don't even know how he did that. It was so great. And thank you, Waylon. I love it.
He creates his own comics and all kinds of stuff. And I shared our video in that video animation. I had to pre-share it with other people and everybody had the same reaction. How did he make that? That's so incredible. So yeah, we're big fans over here, Waylon. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Waylon, so much for making our show amazing. I think we also have some fan art today, don't we?
We love some fan art. We love some really super cute fan art.
That's true. So this is actually our second piece of fan art from Chloe. She's in 5th grade at Forest North. She is quite the artist. Isn't that adorable? That is a cute bee. I love it.
She's just capturing the whole Book Buzz experience for us, Chloe. Thank you so much.
A cute little smile. Yep. Thank you, Chloe. I really appreciate it. All right. Awesome. Well, as we've been talking about, I am on location, so I got to get back to having my special weekend away.
You enjoy your time. I'm sure you'll have a few books will be part of your
I pack some always.
And for everybody else, as always, we hope you find something wonderful to read today and every day. Thanks for joining us on Book Buzz.
When you need a good book and everybody does, tune in to the Book Buzz.
When you need a good book and everybody does, tune in to the Book Buzz.
When you need a good book and everybody does, tune in to the Book Buzz.